Today's guest is Roger Carlton, a respected executive whose career has influenced the growth of South Florida through landmark developments, public and private partnerships, and strategic leadership. His new book, Managing Paradise, a 50-year journey, offers a rare look behind the scenes at people and decisions that helped shape paradise. Roger, be very welcome to our show.
It's certainly a pleasure to join your show, and I hope that the people that are watching and listening enjoy hearing some of my experience in South Florida.
So, Roger, after so many years working in public service and your personal experiences, what inspired you to write Managing Paradise?
Have written over 10,000 memos during my career to my commission recommending them to do something. And you have to tell the story, what's the background, what's the history, what's the finances. So it was easy for me to tell a story. And I think some of the stories that are in the book teach the right way to do things. And it's subtle. I don't try to hit people on the head with a hammer. I just try to write about it and hope that they can absorb it.
Whoever reads it, which I highly recommend, will not waste their time. Advice, inspiring stories, beautiful. Please check it out. And you can find all the information at Roger's page down here and the click to get the book. Read it. I read it. It's marvelous. Most people see paradise as effortless. Why did you choose this title, and what does it reveal about leadership?
I really think that paradise is perfect. In South Florida, it's palm trees and sunshine. It never rains. Therefore, it ought to be easy to manage that city. The reality is, the higher the expectation of your visitors and your citizens, the harder it is to manage. And Miami Beach visitors really expect to have a wonderful experience. And the citizens expect efficiency and honesty and integrity. And that's what I tried to deliver.
And I'm sure you did. And you spent actually 5 decades helping shape communities through crisis, growth, and enormous change. Looking back now, what do you believe people misunderstood most about leadership?
The expectation is, if you've got the job or they voted for you, that you will have leadership. That just isn't the truth. Leadership is a skill. Leadership is respecting everybody's opinion. And where leadership really comes together is when there is a difficult situation and somebody has to be, they call the tip of the spear. Somebody has to come out and say, okay, we've listened to all these ideas, we've had meetings, we've looked at the financing, the contractors that can build something, whatever it is, and say, okay, this is what I recommend. And then the elected officials review that and hopefully vote for it, and you move forward. Then your role changes to make sure that what they voted for is what they get. So you're not only managing a city, a place, but you're managing expectations. One of my mentors said, under promise and over produce, which never really was my philosophy, but I think it's an interesting thing, that you don't want to say that I'm going to finish something for $1,000 and then you spend $2,000. I'm using small numbers there, but that's the point. And you don't want to say it's going to be done in a year and it takes 3 years. So you have to just be realistic and maybe give yourself a little bit of a margin and go forth and get it done.
Very well put. And in all these years of experience, Roger, what would you say were your superpowers, your greatest skills as a manager?
As a mentor, it really starts with being able to recognize talent. I'll give you just a quick example. When I was city manager of Surfside, which is a small town, I had a clerk of the court who keeps all the records and everything, and then I had a personnel director. They were both people from other countries. Their primary skill was not in English; it was in Spanish, and they seemed afraid to me to talk at the county commission meetings.
Mm.
So I had conversation with him, and you have to do it in a positive way. And I said, I think it would be good for your career if you went to something called Toastmasters.
Oh, yeah.
And Toastmasters teaches you how to speak publicly. They make video of you. You learn how to do it. And 25 years later, they're both extraordinary employees, and they're been elected to be president of their professional association in South Florida. So it makes me proud to think that you could recognize talent, but then you don't want to approach somebody and say, "Hey, I don't think you're good enough." It's how you do it. And you have to say, here's some suggestions. What do you think? And so that's what I tried to do with many different people over the years. And quite a few of them have risen up in their organizations, and some have moved on to other kinds of jobs. But uh, probably my legacy is the next generation of leaders more than anything.
So, Roger, in your book, throughout the entire book, you talk about bringing together people with competing visions. What's the biggest lesson you've learned about finding common ground in a divided world?
I remember a room when we were trying to build a new hotel in Miami Beach. There were about 100 people there, and everyone had a different view of how to do that and how many rooms it should have and where it should be and on and on and on. So I listened for quite a while. And then I said, well, here's my thought about how to bring all this together. And I spoke for about 5 minutes, and everybody looked at me and said, well, sounds good. So you have to understand that it is a very diverse world we live in, and which is a good thing, because the more viewpoints that you can listen to, the better. But at some point in any discussion, the leader has to say, okay, let's put all that together and come forth with an idea. And then, maybe there's some back and forth about your distillation of all that information. But I enjoyed that type of reaction, because there's one of my mentors, who was the county manager of Miami-Dade County, said to me once when I was very young, and he said, you're so damn smart that you're thinking of your answer before the question is finished.
Ah,
I will always remember that, because it was just stunning to me when he said it, but he was right. You can't formulate your answer while people are still talking. You'll miss what they're talking about. So a lesson learned that I took with me all through my career.
and I'm sure it made you very successful. One other of the themes I loved was your belief that places tell stories. How has the physical environment, from neighborhoods to public places, influenced the people and the communities you've served?
Use Miami Beach first. Miami Beach is a place. It's about 9 miles long. It's narrow. It's what you call a barrier island. When people think of Miami Beach, who are visitors, they have this dream, the marketing dream, that's, or else they wouldn't want to come. When people live there, it's, all those tourists are making terrible traffic, and what do we do? It also has history. We tend to forget that Miami Beach was a tourist destination all the way back to the 1920s. And the Art Deco movement survived there where it hasn't in many other places. So you see this worldwide vision of Ocean Drive with all the neon signs. And then you have people who think that a building ought not to be 2 stories high; it ought to be 20 stories high. And how do you balance all that? So you also have volunteers who serve on boards. We had a historic preservation board that wanted to preserve, and then we had a planning board that wanted to develop. And the more people that come, the more traffic that you have, the more services you have to provide. Some of the events that happened in Miami Beach became real problems for the police department. People get a little wild sometimes. So you have to deal with all that. So what could be more exciting and more fun than that?
You're right. And in the subject that you just spoke, just a curiosity, I love Miami. I think it's a very beautiful city. And I was always curious about exactly what you said, this Art Deco area that's so dreamy for us. And at the same time, so much development going on. So any insights on how decisions were made about what to preserve and what to allow to be torn down to become a new building?
The criteria that you're talking about have to do with the age of the building. For instance, if it was built after 1950s, back when I was manager, uh, it it didn't meet the criteria for preservation. It was too new. That may have changed now. This is 30 years ago, but uh, a lot of it had to do with, could that building be preserved, or was it too far gone? And that was quite often the owners would neglect the building till it was falling down, so they could tear it down and put something else up. So we had that battle, and actually had times when the building was dangerous, when we had to move people out immediately. And you saw the horrible thing that happened in Surfside, where the building caved in, and uh, unfortunately, you can't let people live in dangerous buildings. So you have the desire to preserve the Art Deco and the neon and all that, because that's what speaks of Miami Beach. But you also have to have new construction as well. Probably the classic compromise was the Lowe's Hotel, which is in the middle of the Art Deco district. Uh, it's 16 stories tall, but the building looks like it's been there for 50 years, brand new. And and sometimes it's the aesthetics more than the size and the functionality. Every project is different. Every project has supporters, detractors, uh, and you have to let the processes play out to get things done.
And talking about difficult decisions, your career involved moments of intense pressure, from hurricanes to political conflict and billion-dollar development decisions. How did you stay calm when everyone around you was not?
When in one city, I won't mention which one, all 5 of my commissioners left town before a hurricane. It just astounded me, but I can't order them to stay there. But I was there, and kind of was the leader of the police department and the fire department and the emergency medical and public works department. Has to, there's just so many different functions that you have to do. So I think that's the answer to your question, is that at the end of the day, I believe in what's called participative management. You try to make your decisions based on people participating. But there comes a point when a hurricane is coming when you have to say, enough participation, let's get ready. or let's clean up, or uh,
Yeah.
so been there, done that, and been accused of being too harsh. And when I look back, maybe I could have been a little nicer, but at the end of the day, when the wind is 120 miles an hour, you can't be too nice.
Yeah. For those listening, Roger was there managing during the time of Hurricane Andrew. So a lot of people would love to hear about it. Would you tell us a little bit more about the details?
Andrew started in Africa like most hurricanes do, and it built up, and it just went straight and never turned right towards South Florida. And uh, we were lucky, if you want to say that, in Miami Beach, in that the direct hit of the hurricane, 150-mile-an-hour winds, was in Homestead, which was about 30 miles to the south. it leveled that town. Uh, so we had damage, of course, and two things, that are memorable. We did the preparations that we could. There hadn't been a serious hurricane in Miami Beach since 1926.
Mm.
So most of the people who lived there had no memory of the entire island being underwater from the storm surge. But I did some research and I found out, what the city manager at that time had done and followed some of that lead. Uh, and we just managed it. When it got difficult was after the storm
Mm.
because we had asked people to evacuate, and many did. And then they expected as soon as the storm was gone that they could come back. Now, remember, Miami Beach is an island, so it only has what are called causeways to get there. Uh, and I had to keep them away for 6 hours till we could make sure that electric lines, were stopped and dangerous things were taken care of. And then they came back. There were people from all over the country who came to South Florida to make money.
Mm.
Some of them not as honest as you'd want them to be, some of them dangerous. And um, at night, they all wanted to flock to the bar rooms on Ocean Drive. And I didn't have the police availability to take care of that because a lot of them had their homes destroyed. I needed them to do their work on Miami Beach. And I was able to keep the saloons closed for 3 days. And
You learn a lot in this profession, and it's not by chance that in your book you also talk about, you describe yourself as a lifelong student. I love that too. How curiosity in general shaped your career, you would say? And why do you think it becomes even more important as we grow older, being curious?
my dad was, a heck of a father, a working guy, and but his great pleasure was reading the New York Times every Sunday. That's where it started because as soon as he was finished, I would read it when I was a kid, and so later on, I subscribed at one time to 6 newspapers, and I could read them all and catch up on a Sunday, and uh, I have a gift, I guess it is. I'm a speed reader, and I can read the introduction to a story and a little bit of the middle and the end and kind of get the gist of the whole thing. And I was a clipping service for my employees. I would cut out articles and send them to the appropriate people, and hopefully they read them and learned something. So I have a dream, maybe that someday I'd like to get my PhD, but I'm getting a little long in the tooth to do that.
There is enough time, you know. Medicine helps nowadays. I was reading the other day, a woman in France lived 122 years. Oh my gosh, I wanna really see this birth certificate. So, Roger, if you could sit down with your young self, just beginning his career, what advice would you give him that only 50 years of experience could teach?
When I wish I had been more patient with people. It's a skill to be able to deal with elected officials. They have different motives than most people. Uh, they all seem to me to come to office with a desire to do good, you know, to change the world for the better. Uh, I'm not so sure that's the reason today that a lot of people run for office, but it was in my career earlier that. But some of them get tied up in things that they shouldn't get tied up in. Developers are uh, providing benefits to them that they shouldn't, or a whole variety of things. So I always tried to tell my younger folks who worked with me, um, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Where are they really coming from? What do they want? Are they trying to hide something, or are they just not able to express it well? And it's really being a good judge of people. One of my friends said, I could smell a crook a mile away.
It's a great. And Roger, what was the most significant and emotional experience you had in your career?
My special events coordinator on Miami Beach walked into my office and said the neo Nazis want to demonstrate in the Holocaust Memorial on the 60th anniversary of what's called Kristallnacht. Kristallnacht is viewed as the beginning of the Holocaust, when the shops were all the windows were broken. That's what Kristallnacht means, the night of the broken glass. So it was one of those shocking things, because you can immediately see how emotional that's going to be. There was a very large Jewish population on Miami Beach, and the Holocaust Memorial is a place where there are hundreds of thousands of names of people who were killed in the Holocaust who are not buried. Their families cannot go visit the gravesite because there is no gravesite. So it's a holy place. And I wasn't going to let the Nazis demonstrate. I convened a meeting of about 50 people who were involved in that. The donors who gave millions of dollars to build the memorial, Holocaust survivors, my police chief and others, the Anti-Defamation League. It was a room full of people. And we described it, what was going to happen. And the expectation was that I was going to find a way to keep them out. But the First Amendment says freedom of speech. So how do you create a balance, and the way it happened was that one of the people was there, said, if you let them come in, I'm going to get my gun and I'm going to shoot them dead. And that creates something called clear and present danger, which is how you can limit somebody's freedom of speech. Another example is you can't yell fire in a theater if there's no fire, So we went through the process. I denied them access. We sent them to another site about 1,000 feet away. And the Anti-Defamation League sued me in a case, Pritchett v. Carlton. Pritchett was the Nazi. And but I was upheld in court because I actually went to the Holocaust Memorial and I sat there for a few hours and I wrote up a very emotional but realistic reason why I was going to deny them access. It wasn't because people don't want them to be there, or it wasn't because I don't like Nazis. It was rational thought about what it meant to the survivors and what it meant to the community. And it was upheld in court, and we moved them, and it was done. 7,000 people showed up, 15 Nazis and 7,000 people. So it became a management problem, to contain the 7,000 people. But the thing worked out okay. There were only a few arrests. The Nazis came to the place 1,000 feet away. Nobody listened to them. And
Oh,
it worked. So it's always in my memory that crowds can get out of control. Emotions can get out of control very quickly. It happens all the time. Every day on the news, you see something, that's an example of a situation where emotion overcomes rationality, and you try to avoid that.
yeah, as you say, your paradise can become very tumultuous sometimes, right? But I was very moved by one episode here involving a whale. Would you tell our audience what that's about?
I was blessed with the opportunity to actually build two animal attractions. One is called Zoo Miami when I worked for Miami-Dade County, and it's a wonderful zoo. And I headed up the team that built it. So it gave me a love of animals and what's called husbandry and a whole array of things to protect endangered species and the like. I actually went to Africa for 17 days and met with a number of leaders in the environmental movement there with a group of people. And so that protection of animals and educating people by putting them on display was important to me. Uh, I spent 5 years with a company that owned the Miami Aquarium. The whale's name was Lolita,
Oh.
and she was captured in the Pacific Northwest near Seattle. The water there is very cold, and in Miami, the heat required the water in her tank to be chilled.
Mm.
And by almost 15 to 20 degrees, or she would die. You know, she couldn't live in the hot water. And she was a wonderful animal. She understood hand signals that the trainers use of over 110 different things. So they're smart. And um, so anyway, the chiller broke. Uh, I got a call from the manager of the aquarium, and he said, "We got trouble." And I said, "What?" And he said, "The chiller broke. It can't be fixed." That was a very expensive thing. So I went over there and assessed the situation and talked to the animal trainers who are real advocates. And you got to keep them calm. And I talked to the owners of the company, and I said, "We've got to order it right now. A new one. It takes a month to get it." So she would have died, there's no question. But I knew the superintendent of schools in Miami-Dade County. There's 350,000 students in that school system. And I had served on some committees that, helped him. And I said, "I need to borrow your portable chiller." And it comes on a trailer that's 30 feet long, and they use it in schools that don't have windows if the air conditioning breaks down. So he said, "Okay, but if I need it back, I have to take it back." Luckily, he didn't need it. It functioned the whole time it was there. We didn't have to negotiate a contract. I didn't have to provide insurance. I just gave him my word that we would be responsible. He sent his own crew over to hook it up.
Oh, that's
And the
good.
water chilled and the whale lived, and we got the new cooler. And but the emotion of the
Oh.
place when the trainers uh, knew that the whale could pass. She'd been there for 50 years.
So, Roger, one difficult aspect is admitting mistakes or dealing with our own mistakes as managers. So, you dealt with like big negotiations and cities, entire cities. So, our executives watching our program may be very interested in this part. You talked previously about your superpowers. What about any mistakes made by other people or any mistakes that you made and you had to correct? Would you like to address this subject for people who are trying to manage big and small companies and could learn from your expertise?
Trying to cover up or lie or blame somebody else for your own problems always comes back to bite you. And uh, so I remember that advice. People make mistakes. I made mistakes, but I found that our society is pretty forgiving. If you say, "I made a mistake, here's how to fix it. This is what I'm going to do." Uh, Most of the time, everybody said, "Good, you made a mistake, you admitted it, and you got to fix." If you're really unhappy with what somebody did, but you just think it was an honest mistake, meaning they didn't know what to do was the right thing. They should have called you to find out or whatever, but they did something and it ends up in the newspaper. You can take them to the doghouse, but do it privately. Don't ever raise your voice or yell or scream. Just explain and seek a commitment that it won't happen again. I'd like to say that even if I had bosses that I didn't like, which wasn't that often, I still learned from them, and uh, people are wonderful. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You just have to associate more with the good than the ugly. But they do show up.
Roger, finally, when readers finish Managing Paradise, what do you hope they see differently? Not just about different cities, but about leadership, community, and their own ability to make a lasting difference.
Really hope that young professionals who read the book can learn how to handle complicated problems. And I didn't have a book to read when I was younger, but I had mentors. And it's very important for young professionals, not just in government, but in the private sector, in the arts, in anything, to listen to people who've been there and done that, and take their advice. You may not buy it all, but some of it is worthwhile. And I don't expect everybody to buy my advice, but I just want them to think about the ethical ways to solve problems, to listen to many opinions, and to realize that a city is not just a place on a map. It's not just a destination for tourists. A city is a complicated organism of people, place, ideas, and so much that a career managing cities, particularly Miami Beach, is a gift. It's a responsibility, and you are a custodian of that city while you're manager, and you want to turn it over better than you got it.
Roger Carlton, thank you so much for this inspiring, so helpful interview. It was a pleasure to have you in our show.
It's a pleasure to be on your show, and greetings to all the people who are listening.